My name is Elizabeth, and from a very young age, I've always been deeply captivated by the mysteries of the natural world, a curiosity that often puzzled my family. While my sister Amanda was enchanted by dolls and fairy tale dreams of princesses, my adventures were in the backyard, gathering leaves, stones, and whatever small wonders I could place under the lens of a magnifying glass I had found in a cereal box. "Why do leaves change color and drop off, Mom?" I would ask, waving a brilliantly hued maple leaf I had discovered. My mom, preoccupied and sewing a dance costume for Amanda, would respond without looking up, "Ask your teacher, Elizabeth. I'm busy right now." This kind of reply was typical whenever I posed questions about nature or science. I recall a specific afternoon when I was 8. The kitchen table was a landscape of various household items I had assembled for experimentation. I was wholly absorbed in mixing baking soda with different liquids, entranced by the fizzing reactions, when my mom's exasperated voice broke my focus. "What on earth are you doing, Elizabeth? Look at this mess. Clean it up immediately. Your sister's friends are coming over for her birthday party, and I need the space." Amanda's birthday celebrations were always lavish productions, complete with entertainers, life-sized cartoon characters, and hordes of guests. My birthdays, by contrast, were modest gatherings with just my grandparents and a plain cake. The disparity between our parties was starkly evident. "Here's your birthday present, sweetheart," my dad would say, handing me a new volume of the Science Encyclopedia. Don't get me wrong, I cherish those books. But seeing Amanda unveil a pile of toys and gadgets at her parties made it painfully clear where the bulk of our parents' attention was directed. My saving grace was my grandparents, my father's parents. They provided a haven from the constant reminder that I was the outlier in our family. Every weekend and school holiday, they would welcome me into their home with loving enthusiasm. "Tell me more about what you've learned this week, little scientist," Grandpa would encourage, his eyes sparkling with sincere interest as I shared my latest discoveries. Amanda, on the other hand, had no interest in joining me. "They're so dull," she would complain. "Besides, Mom and Dad are taking me to the new theme park this weekend." I remember watching their car pull away, feeling a sting in my heart. "Why can't I go too?" I once asked. "Oh, honey," my mom replied, patting my head distractedly. "You wouldn't enjoy it. You'd probably want to study the mechanics of the rides instead of having fun." That was the prevailing theme. Amanda was the quintessential daughter, fitting seamlessly into their ideal, while I was the inquisitive one, favoring microscopes over makeup, always feeling slightly out of place. Everything began to shift when I entered middle school. Mrs. Johnson, my science teacher, was the first educator who seemed to recognize and nurture my potential. During a parent-teacher conference, she spoke to my parents with enthusiasm. "Mr. and Mrs. Martin, your daughter has extraordinary potential. I have never seen a student grasp complex scientific concepts so naturally. We need to discuss moving Elizabeth to our gifted program." I overheard my mom's lukewarm response through the classroom door. "That sounds rather complicated. She's doing fine where she is. Besides, we have to think about Amanda. It wouldn't be fair to give Elizabeth special treatment." My heart sank listening to their words. Yet, despite the familiar pattern of their responses, I clung to the belief that my path, though different and sometimes lonely, was mine to forge with passion and an unyielding curiosity about the world. The day after my parents rejected the opportunity for me to join the gifted program, Grandma took matters into her own hands. With the determination of a seasoned general, she marched into my school and straight into the principal's office. Her voice was steady and resolute as she declared, "My granddaughter will take those tests, and she will have every opportunity she deserves." I don't care what her parents said. "But, Mrs. Martin, we need parental consent," the principal protested. "I'll handle my son and his wife. You just make sure Elizabeth gets her chance," Grandma countered firmly. And she did just that. After a week of intense discussions and, I suspect, some financial persuasion from my grandparents, my parents reluctantly agreed to let me take the placement tests. I passed them all with flying colors, and suddenly, my world grew exponentially larger. The gifted program was a gateway to realms I had never imagined. International science competitions, academic Olympiads, and research seminars became part of my new reality. I immersed myself in this vibrant community, where for the first time, I found peers who shared my enthusiasm for discovery and innovation. I won my first international competition with a project on sustainable ecosystems, and more victories followed. Where should we put this one? Grandpa would ask each time I brought home a new trophy or certificate. In the box with the others, I'd respond, pulling out my special cardboard box from under the bed. I never displayed my awards, partly because I didn't want to boast, but mostly because I sensed that they made my parents uneasy. Amanda, my sister, had her views on my success. "Nobody likes a know-it-all," she'd sneer, but then she'd turn around and ask, "Hey, can you help me with my science homework? And maybe just do it for me?" "Amanda, that's cheating," I'd protest. "Elizabeth, help your sister right now," Mom would inevitably command. The family mantra was family helps family, so I would end up doing Amanda's work, feeling like a fraud, but too intimidated to defy my parents. It became a recurring pattern. Amanda demanded, my parents insisted, and I complied. I often overheard them discussing me when they thought I wasn't listening. Their whispered conversations floated up the stairs to where I sat with my chemistry set or the latest research paper I was studying. "I just don't understand where she gets it from," Mom would say, baffled. "No one in our family is like this. Maybe she was switched at birth." Dad would joke, a hint of seriousness lurking in his tone that stung more than outright mockery. One evening, after winning another science competition, I overheard Dad in his study talking to Amanda about her struggling grades. "It's not fair that she's so smart," Amanda whined. "Listen, sweetheart." Dad's voice softened. "The weak need to be supported. That's why we focus on you. Elizabeth, well, she'll be fine on her own." I leaned against the wall, tears welling up. They justified their neglect with twisted logic, as if being capable meant I didn't need love or support. At school, I was the odd girl who spent lunch breaks in the laboratory instead of the cafeteria. People would seek me out for help with their science homework, but genuine friendships were scarce. Through it all, Grandma and Grandpa were my pillars. They listened for hours as I explained my latest experiments or theories, never making me feel like an anomaly. "Look what I found for you," Grandpa would say, pulling out scientific journals or new equipment for my experiments. "I thought this might interest you," he'd add, his eyes twinkling with pride and encouragement. Their unwavering support and belief in me were the foundations on which I built my dreams and aspirations. Despite the steadfast support of my grandparents, the void left by my parents' lack of affection was profound and painful. Watching other families at school events, parents embracing their children, siblings cheering each other on, I felt an acute, relentless ache. Amidst these feelings, a transformative opportunity arose. I was graduating early at the age of 18, having fulfilled all my high school requirements, and I had been granted a full scholarship to one of the nation's top universities. Leaving for university was like taking a breath of fresh air for the first time. The campus buzzed with a vibrant intellectual energy, and for the first time, I did not feel out of place. In my advanced chemistry class, I met Sarah and Brian, who shared my passion for molecular structures. We quickly became friends, spending countless hours in the lab, our conversations filled with the kind of excitement over scientific discoveries that would bore most. Yet, even as I thrived academically and socially in this new environment, a part of me still longed for my family's acknowledgement. I would call home every week, hoping for a conversation that went beyond the usual disinterested responses. "Yes, Elizabeth, that's nice," my mom would say dismissively as I shared details of my research, quickly shifting the topic to Amanda's latest job at a high-end boutique downtown. It was during one of these routine calls in my second semester, while deeply immersed in a research project, that I sensed something was amiss at home. "With your father's condition worsening," I heard my mom say to my dad, likely thinking I was muted. "What about Grandpa?" I interrupted, my voice tense with concern. There was a pause, a silence too long to be innocent. "Oh," Elizabeth, I didn't realize you were still there. It's nothing serious, just a minor health issue. He's already recovering, she replied. I'm coming home, I stated firmly, already planning my journey back. No, don't be ridiculous. My mom's tone hardened. You need to focus on your studies. Amanda is helping them out. Everything's under control. Her reassurances did little to quell my worries. Despite her dismissal, I felt something was not right. After hanging up, I immediately called Grandma, whose voice sounded unusually distant. Oh yes, dear, Amanda's been such a help. She comes by often to check on your grandfather. Amanda, who had always claimed that visiting our grandparents was dull. It didn't add up. 3 weeks later, I stood at my grandparents' familiar front door, my heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and dread. Instead of Grandma's warm greeting, I found Amanda blocking the doorway. What are you doing here? She asked, her expression feigning surprise. I came to see Grandpa and Grandma. How is he? No one's home, she replied hastily, too hastily. They're out. Grandpa's sick. Where would they go? I don't know. Elizabeth, just go away, she snapped, beginning to close the door. Wait, I protested, placing my foot in the doorway. Let me come in and wait for them. No one's home, she insisted, pushing the door against my foot. God, you're so annoying. Just leave. Confused and hurt, I tried calling Grandma again, but it went straight to voicemail, a rare occurrence, as she always kept her phone on for me. With no other options, I headed to my parents' house, seeking clarity and hoping for answers. Mom and Dad were in the kitchen as I walked in. When I arrived home unexpectedly, the first thing I noticed was the tension. What are you doing home? Dad asked, his voice tinged with annoyance he didn't bother to hide. I came to see Grandpa and Grandma, but they're not home. Amanda wouldn't let me in, I explained, feeling unsettled by the whole situation. Oh, honey, Mom interjected, sharing a significant look with Dad before continuing. We were going to tell you. Your grandparents are in a nursing home now. The room seemed to spin as I processed her words. What? Why didn't anyone tell me? It was a quick decision, Dad explained with a smoothness that felt rehearsed. They needed specialized care. It's better this way. Which nursing home? I want to visit them, I demanded, needing to see them for myself. They're under quarantine right now, Mom replied quickly. No visitors allowed. Maybe next time. Feeling uneasy, I eventually returned to university, but the doubt and worry haunted me. I couldn't shake off the image of Amanda's hostile face or the too smooth explanations from my parents. Everything felt wrong. That unsettling feeling intensified when I received an ominous call from Mom while in the lab one Tuesday morning. Elizabeth, she began, her voice unnaturally flat, your grandfather passed away last night. The test tube I was holding crashed to the floor, shattering under the weight of the news. What? No. When's the funeral? Thursday at 1 p.m. Don't be late, she instructed, her tone almost mechanical. I didn't even clean up the broken glass. I just left the lab, overwhelmed by grief and confusion. My grandfather, the man who had always believed in me, was gone without a final goodbye. Arriving at the church at 2:10 p.m. on Thursday, the empty parking lot was the first sign that something was terribly wrong. The echoing silence of the building filled me with dread. Inside, I found a custodian cleaning the floors. The Martin funeral? I asked, hope dwindling. That ended hours ago. They held it at 9 a.m., he informed me, looking up from his task. I felt a punch to the gut. Frantically, I called my parents. Oh, Elizabeth, Mom's voice dripped with feigned disappointment. You must have mixed up the times. We clearly said 9 a.m. No, I said firmly, my hand shaking as I clung to my phone. You said 1 p.m. I wrote it down. I know you said 1 p.m. Where's Grandma? I need to talk to her. Your grandmother is still in the nursing home, Dad interjected sharply. And she doesn't want to see you right now. She's very upset you missed the funeral. Despite telling my parents I was returning to university, I drove to my grandparents' house instead, desperate for answers. The familiar street looked unchanged, the old oak tree, the well-tended garden, Grandma's beloved wind chimes. Trembling, I rang the doorbell. After a tense moment, the door opened, and there stood Grandma, supposedly in a nursing home, and refusing to see me. "Grandma!" I exclaimed, moving to embrace her, overwhelmed with relief at seeing her familiar face. But she stepped back, creating a distance that felt like miles. The coldness in Grandma's eyes halted me in my tracks. Her expression was stern, unrecognizable, nothing like the gentle, loving gaze I remembered from my childhood. "So now you decide to show up," she said, her voice icy and distant. "Grandma, what's going on?" "They told me you were in a nursing home," I stammered, confusion and hurt swirling within me. "Don't," she interrupted, raising her hand in a stopping motion that felt like a slap. "Your grandfather called you over and over. He was asking for you on his deathbed, wanting to say goodbye to his little scientist. But you couldn't be bothered to answer his calls or visit. How could you be so cruel, Elizabeth?" "Let me see the number he was calling," I managed to say, my voice shaking. "Please, Grandma, I need to understand." Grandma disappeared inside for a moment, and I came back holding a small notepad. Her hands trembled as she showed me a number written in Grandpa's familiar handwriting. "That's not my number," I whispered, the reality sinking in. "I've had the same number since high school." "They gave you a fake number? What do you mean?" Grandma's stern expression began to waver. "Your parents," she explained, her voice breaking, "said you changed it when you went to university. They told us you wanted to distance yourself from us." The pieces were starting to fall into place. "Grandma, I came here during the break. Amanda was here. She wouldn't let me in. She said no one was home. Then Mom and Dad told me you and Grandpa were in a nursing home." Grandma's face went pale. "Nursing home? We never. Amanda and your parents told us you were too busy with your university life to visit. They said you were ashamed of us, that we weren't sophisticated enough for you anymore." How could they? I felt my knees weaken under the weight of the deceit. "Grandma, they told me the funeral was at 1 p.m. today. When I got to the church, it was already over." "The funeral was at 9 a.m., Grandma said slowly, the realization dawning in her eyes. "Your parents stood there, telling everyone how ashamed they were that you couldn't make it. Amanda was crying, saying she tried so hard to reach you." Overcome with emotion, I fell into her arms, both of us dissolving into tears on the front porch. The grief, the confusion, and the manufactured distance that had been orchestrated between us poured out as we held each other. "He died thinking I abandoned him," I sobbed into her shoulder. "Grandpa died thinking I didn't care," I cried, my heart breaking. "Shuh." Grandma stroked my hair like she used to when I was little, her tears mingling with mine. "We know the truth now, Elizabeth. We know." After we dried our tears, Grandma picked up the phone with a determined look. Her fingers trembled as she dialed, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "Sarah, yes, it's me. I need you, Walter, and Amanda to come over right away. There are some important documents we need to discuss." "No, it can't wait." "They'll be here in an hour," Grandma said after hanging up. I told them I had important documents to discuss. "The lawyer is on his way, too." When the doorbell rang, Grandma squeezed my hand. "Stay in the kitchen until I call you." I heard them enter. Mom's practiced social laugh, Dad's formal greetings, Amanda's bored sighs. I waited, hidden yet listening, as the stage was set for a confrontation that would unravel the web of lies and bring the truth to light. Grandma's voice, sharp and commanding, filled the room. "Please, everyone, find a seat. Mr. Raymond is here to read Henry's will." That was my signal. I stepped into the living room just as the lawyer began unclasping his briefcase. The expressions around me were unforgettable. Mom's smile was fixed and unnatural, Dad's complexion paled, and Amanda's mouth dropped open in shock. Clearing his throat, Mr. Raymond began to read. "I, Henry Martin, being of sound mind, declare this to be my last will and testament." The room fell silent, punctuated only by the rustle of papers. Firstly, the house was left to Grandma, along with a significant amount of money for her upkeep. Then came the revelation that flushed Amanda's cheeks with rage. To my granddaughter Elizabeth Martin, I leave my newly constructed laboratory facility, fully equipped and ready for her research. All necessary permits and paperwork are in order. I was astounded. Grandpa had built me a lab, my very own research facility. As for the remainder of my estate, Mr. Raymond continued, it is to be divided equally between my granddaughters, Elizabeth and Amanda Martin. Amanda's chair screeched against the floor as she stood up abruptly, but Grandma motioned for her to sit. There's more, Grandma interjected, holding a letter. Your grandfather had this letter to be read too. With authority in her voice, Grandma read, My dear family, I have observed over the years how favoritism has soured our bonds. To my son and daughter-in-law, your handling of your daughters has been disgraceful. Every child deserves equal love and support. Stop. Amanda burst out, rising again. This is absurd. Why should Elizabeth get anything? Do you know how much I had to endure, sitting with that tedious old man, pretending to care? Mom tried to silence her, but Amanda was relentless. You promised, she accused our parents. You said if I played nice, if I visited him and acted like the perfect granddaughter, it would all be mine. You had me grovel to a dying man. The stark reality of their scheming was now laid bare in its full, grim ugliness. And now what? Amanda's voice escalated. Little Miss Perfect gets a whole laboratory, and I get just half the money? No, give me the house. She doesn't need both. She can keep her precious lab. I remained silent, watching as my sister's facade crumbled, exposing a harsh truth beneath. Finally, Mom broke the tense silence. Elizabeth, you heard your sister. Be reasonable. Do you realize how much we've invested in your education? The science camps, the competitions? I nearly chuckled. You didn't pay for any of that. Grandma and Grandpa did. That's not the point, Mom snapped back. Family means making sacrifices. If you want to honor your grandfather's memory, you'll sign over your share to Amanda. She needs it more than you do. Grandma's voice sliced through the tension as she stood, holding Grandpa's letter. Let me remind you of what Henry thought about this family's sacrifice. She read on, revealing more about their blatant favoritism and how it resulted in emotional neglect towards me and turned Amanda into a spoiled individual. How dare you? Amanda screamed. No, how dare you? Grandma countered with unprecedented vigor. You manipulated and lied to a dying man, preventing his cherished granddaughter from bidding him farewell. And now you dare speak of family and sacrifice. Grandma moved with purpose to the door, flinging it open. Get out, all of you, she commanded, her voice resounding with a finality that marked a new beginning for us, away from the deceit and manipulations that had plagued our family. I still find it hard to believe that Grandpa Henry left anything to Amanda, considering her spoiled and selfish demeanor, a direct reflection of our parents' influence. The day they stormed out of our lives, slamming doors and hurling threats, the house was enveloped in an uncanny silence. That was 6 years ago. Today, I manage my research laboratory, the very one Grandpa had built for me. It's everything I ever hoped for, and then some. Often, during those late nights when I'm the last one there, I feel a sense of Grandpa's presence around me, his pride and love as tangible as if he were still here. Grandma visits frequently. Every Sunday, we have dinner together, and afterward, she insists on a tour of the lab to catch up on my latest projects. She even enrolled in a few science classes at the local community college to better grasp the technical aspects of my work. I think, more than anything, she wants to connect with the passion for discovery that Grandpa and I shared. As for my parents and Amanda, I haven't spoken to them since that fateful day. Occasionally, their emails appear in my inbox or their numbers flash on my caller ID, but I delete them unopened. They chose their path long ago, just as I have chosen mine. Recently, I stumbled upon an old photograph of Grandpa tucked inside one of his favorite books. It captured a moment in his garden. He was showing something to a younger version of myself, who was intensely examining it through a magnifying glass. On the back, he had written, "My little scientist will change the world someday." That photo now sits on my desk, a constant reminder of his belief in me. I've come to realize that family isn't solely defined by blood. The truest family members are those who believe in you, support your dreams, and love you, not despite your quirks and differences, but because of them. These are the bonds that matter most, the ones that truly shape who we become.